about it. Because this is very important, because they're sending more and more money. How much money has been sent so far?
68 billion, of which, according to Cy Hirsch, the CIA can document 400 million in cash stolen, skimmed by Zelensky and his 35 top generals. According to Cy Hirsch, Bill Burns, the director of the CIA, showed up with a list and handed it to the president. He didn't flinch at all. He fired 10 of the generals. The government didn't ask, the U.S. government didn't ask for the money back. The U.S. government won't deny Cy Hirsch's allegations. They are clearly true. Cy's, famously three-sourced material obviously has sources inside the CIA. Have we stopped giving money to these thieves? No, we continue to give it to them.
Yeah, and again, as this country is going down the toilet, again, we have the data of how many people are struggling, living paycheck to paycheck, and with things getting worse with inflation. The roads are all rotted around this country. Our rail system is a third world rail. We don't even have any high-speed trains in this country. The bridges are falling down, and we're sending billions of dollars over to Ukraine to fight a war that is absolutely of no consequence to we, the people of the United States. And to make a bad situation worse, now they're ramping up a confrontation with China.
Joe Biden wants to run for re-election as a wartime president, Gerald, like his hero, FDR. And he's willing, that's how low his morality is, he's willing to sacrifice the lives of Ukrainian soldiers and Russian soldiers to do this. What will he do when one of the Americans who's there, which these documents also revealed, comes back in a body bag?
He could care less. And again, what's not talked about in the media anymore is about these documents that have been released. It's out of the mainstream media.
Yes, it's out already. You're right.
It's gone. And the reality of the Ukrainians losing this war, it's out of the media. It's nothing about Sir Cy Hirsch's information about the Nord Stream pipeline, gone out of the media. And one of my sayings is, when all else fails, they take you to war. And the American economy, this is very important. As the bet on the street, almost 90% that they're going to raise interest rates another 25 basis points when they meet again on May 3rd. People don't understand that it takes time for the impact of higher interest rates to hit the economy. And now they're going to hit the economy big time. You're going to start seeing a real sharp decline in economic growth and consumer spending. And when things get bad and people start getting angry about it, you're going to start seeing they're going to ramp up the war machine again.
Yes.
Get people's mind off it all the time. Again, what followed the Great Depression? World War II. What followed the dot-com bust? The war on terror. So that's my great concern. Because
when President Xi visited President Putin 2 weeks ago, and Xi publicly said, we will be happy to host peace talks between the Ukrainians and the Russians, guess who objected? Joe Biden. I mean, It's almost a joke that the American government would object to something like that. You got two combatants 10,000 miles away and a neutral party. Maybe they're not even neutral, but they're willing to get people together to talk. Even the warmonger Churchill said jaw is better than war. It's better to talk than to kill. And the American government says no. And this speech that I alluded to in my article about Victoria Nuland revealing all the Russian assets in Crimea, the purpose of the speech was to argue in favor of, hang on to your seat, an American invasion of Crimea.
Wow.
I mean, this lady is really out of her mind, and she's the number 3 person in the State Department under Tony Blinken.
And again, she was under the Nobel Peace of Crap Prize winner Obama in 2014 when they overthrew the government.
Correct.
And by the way, anybody can Google up Victoria Nuland, Nuland, December 2013, which Dr. Paul Craig Roberts referenced in her speech in Washington, D.C. About Ukraine, with over one shoulder the sign is Chevron, the other sign ExxonMobil.
Good God.
Oh yeah, you could Google it up, and this is where she's saying what we have to do in Ukraine and how we have to change what's going on there. She says it right there. And again, she's involved. Her husband is involved in this very ultra conservative group. What's the name of it? Do you know?
No, but her husband is the prince of the neocons. I think his last name is Kagan. Robert Kagan is her husband.
That's it. Yep.
Right.
And that we have these clowns, these arrogant clowns. You look at her, and she's telling us what to do. Oh, and everybody forgot that her and that other little clown boy, Jeffrey Pyatt, the former United States ambassador to Ukraine, handing out bread and cookies in Maidan Square in the overthrow of the democratically elected government of the president of Ukraine, to overthrow it. What if the Russians were over here when I was doing a speech at the Rage Against the War Machine rally in Washington, D.C. in February, and you had the top people out there telling the crowd and handing out stuff? Yes. That would have been terrible if the Russians were here, but we could go to any other country that we want.
How would we feel if the Chinese put military equipment in Tijuana, Mexico, aimed at Dallas? That's what Putin has aimed at Moscow from NATO. And
the latest, did you hear the 400 weapons that we're sending over to missiles or whatever kind of thing, top things to Taiwan? Just came out.
I didn't see that.
Just came out.
Wouldn't surprise me if the Chinese intercept them on the high seas.
Again, the cover of this week's magazine, War with China, who will win?
Yes, I saw that last night. Yes.
Yeah. And again, America hasn't won a war since World War II. And they wouldn't have won it, by the way, without the Russians, who lost what? Some 25 million people, Operation Barbarossa. And they were the first ones to beat the Germans.
Correct.
So they were the first ones to beat the Germans. There was 25 million people. How stupid can you be to think Ukraine is going to defeat Russia?
That's the argument that Secretary of Defense Austin made. The questioner is Senator Roger Wicker, a mild-mannered Republican from Mississippi on the Senate Armed Services Committee. And he really effectively and in a soft way pins down the Secretary of Defense. I don't think Wicker was aware of what the documents showed. The documents hadn't been released yet. The Secretary of Defense was certainly aware of what the documents showed. He participated in the consensus amongst senior military leaders that Ukraine is a losing cause, and he lied under oath. The government does not prosecute its own for lying under oath when the lies further the subterfuge that the government wants to advance.
Now, this is terrible what's happened to this country. And again, your articles are really, there's nothing like it, what you put together here, and how you make the connections of corruption and where this country is going. And everybody, please go to Judging Freedom if you really want to see some great interviews. The ones you did with Scott Ritter and on that you're doing continually.
Thank you. Our friend Phil Geraldi is on today at 11 Eastern, and Scott Ritter is on at 4:30 Eastern.
Wow. Yep. So thank you so much for what you're doing. And everybody, remember, we're going to be having a peace and freedom rally. Make America healthy again, physically, emotionally, spiritually. Bring back patriotism on May 27th up here in Kingston, New York, on the Four Corners of Freedom. And Judge Napolitano, of course, is going to be the top speaker out there. So everybody, please try to get here and do what you can to support us, because we're doing everything we can to support you. And you want to make any donations, you go to Occupy Peace, occupypeace.com. And again, we showed you the cover of the Trends Journal. I have to tell you, there's no magazine like it. The information in this magazine that we're putting out, it's history before it happens. And we just went out last night, and I can't believe the death of the dollar. We put this article out. Now everyone is talking about it in the mainstream media about death of the dollar. And
what amazes me is how much material you get out every single week, and nobody else. You must have a staff of 100. Nobody else does it.
You would think so, right? There's a small staff. We give it everything we can. Judge, thanks so much for being on, and thank you so much for all that you do. And everyone, remember, do what you can do to make things happen. Just don't think about it. Take action. Do something positive every day and help those who need help. Thanks, Judge.
Thank you, Gerald. All the best.